Well, joining me now from London to unpack this is Yolande Wright. She's the Global Director of Poverty and Climate at Save the Children. Yolande, it's great to have you on the program. We appreciate your time. That research is incredibly concerning. And what's more concerning is that it appears it will affect children in poorer countries.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you for showing that story and for highlighting those averages. But those are global averages. So on average around the whole world, 7 times more heat waves for a child born last year than for their grandparents born in 1960. But we look in the data for different regions and actually it can be much higher for certain regions. So for example, Afghanistan is likely to suffer 18 times more heat waves on average. And similarly, for some of those other issues like drought and crop failure, there's many more times likelihood in certain countries. And unfortunately, it's the lower and the middle income countries that are likely to suffer more of these extreme events.
Well, how do we combat this? I mean, your research says the current climate pledges will see warming of somewhat between 2.6 and 3.1 degrees Celsius, which will drive adverse weather. Is there hope that governments and businesses will be able to do enough to limit warming to 1.5 degrees as prescribed by experts to keep the climate crisis in check?
Yes, well, we do think there is hope, and that's why we've put this report out, because we think there's time and there's some really key meetings coming up this year, such as the COP happening in November, where we hope that decisions can be made that can help us to address this issue. The science behind this study was actually done by a number of modelers, climate modelers from around the world, led by Bray University in Brussels. And they showed that if we can keep the average warming to below 1.5 degrees, all of these extreme events will reduce. They'll be less frequent and less severe. So there is something we can do, but we really have to take action very urgently.
Is climate change the biggest crisis facing future generations?
Well, it's difficult to say, but I think it probably is. We've seen over the last decades huge progress in achieving children's rights, a lot of improvements in things like child poverty, hunger, but actually the climate crisis, especially combined with COVID and ongoing conflicts, are really posing an unprecedented challenge. And we're seeing some of the key things that we've made progress on in the past going backwards. So we're seeing an increase, for example, in the number of children going hungry. And we really need to stop that decline and look ahead and take future-based action, because we can see that the choices we make now will affect children for years to come.
And many of those children are trying to take action right now, today. The UN Youth for Climate Summit is happening at the moment in Milan. What are young people doing today to not just secure their future, but also their present? Because, of course, the climate crisis is not just something we're waiting for to happen. We're all experiencing it right now.
Absolutely. I mean, in this year, it's been quite amazing. There's not just been the COVID crisis, but we've all been looking at wildfires in Turkey, in the US, floods, extreme flood events in Europe. So we've absolutely all experienced it ourselves very recently. And the young people meeting in Milan in the next few days are bringing real messages from around the world to say climate crisis is affecting us now and we must act now, because they are the ones whose future is really at stake. Older people, they are experiencing it now, but it's young people whose lives are going to be panning out over the next 20, 30, 40 years who will see the most extreme events. So young people are really demanding that adults take this issue seriously, and also that they listen to the children and take the children's point of view on board and allow children to participate meaningfully.
And here's hoping that they will listen to the children. Yolande Wright speaking to us there from London. Thank you so much for your time. Much appreciated.